Hi, my name's Stephanie. I'm a wife, mom, makeup artist, and product boss. I love talking, especially about all things skin health, holistic beauty, and helping others with a less is more approach to it all. So I decided to start a podcast and interview people who are impacting the beauty industry as I know it. Welcome to episode 2 of WTF Am I Doing With My Face? I am so excited to introduce today's guest to you because she has been in my life for a long time, is a dear friend, and the creative director for Uli's Ointment. Ana's motto is, don't just do good design, do good. And we're going to be unboxing the truth behind beauty packaging and how it sells to you. Hi. So I really wanted this episode to be a little bit of an unboxing of what we do when we go to a store and we're swayed by a product. I'd love for you to start by sharing your journey in brand packaging and what brought you here and the brands you've worked for and all that kind of stuff.
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. This is exciting.
Woo!
I love that we have the American accent and the UK accent. It brings us back together. So I'll try and keep it brief. I met you, Steph, a long time ago in Brixton when we both lived in London.
I almost wore my I Love Brixton necklace, but it's red too. And I was like, that might be a little much.
I'm disappointed. I'm sad that didn't happen. Like you have a coat. I know that is with you right now that we had from back in the day. When I saw it, I was like, I know that coat so well from partying. Anyway, I've known Steph a long time, and when you came to me with the idea of Uli's, understanding you as a person, so taking away our friendship, but thinking more of you as a client and the brief that you were giving me on where the product was made, what the reasons why you were making it, the heritage of Greece that you wanted to pull through that, the sustainability aspect, and making sure that it had longevity. It was very, very easy to work with you because you had a real clear vision on what you wanted. And I think that you are quite a rarity in my client list because when I work with other clients, the majority of them really need me to build that for them. I started working in design, packaging design specifically. I've had my business for about 13 years now, and I've worked with everybody from the small craft independent brands like yourself within skincare, clean beauty, confectionery, alcohol beverage, luxury, right through to like the bigger boys that we know so well, such as the Unilevers, the Walmarts, Dove skincare, Hello Sunday, SPF, like the smaller mid-tier beauty brands, as well as like designing household products such as cleaner and bread and all different types of areas, as well as luxury products and alcohol and perfumes and all different types of things. So I think having that breadth, but then also being able to specialize, it gives you insight into how people shop for different things. So it's really understanding that, for example, if you buy a dish soap, you can buy Dawn or you could buy Method. And there's a reason why certain people choose Method and certain people choose Dawn. So reason why people keep Method on their countertop and why certain people put Dawn under their sink, right? It's all about this anthropological way of thinking and wanting to feel something from a product. So when I'm thinking about packaging design, it really does vary from the person that wants a beautiful crafted brand to come together versus something that's really practical. So yeah, it's a really wide question what you've asked, but I can go into more detail if you like in anything specific.
No, I think that's a great starting point because that's the whole point in this conversation. It's how we are influenced. Like if I take my experience and the reason why we created Uli's and it being trying to draw awareness to the conversation of how we shop
Mm-hmm.
in a consumer world, especially since moving to America, like the homes that I'd been in when we were like looking for houses, and the amount of stuff they
Mm-hmm.
had in comparison to coming from a tiny London flat where your washer is also your dryer and everything's like compacted. You don't shop that much, or
Mm-hmm.
what you do is more intentional. And that's part of why I started the brand, the intentionality behind it. And there's also the aspect that brought this conversation up was that we don't have outer packaging. But the reason most stores have brands with outer packaging makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It also gets tossed the minute you get it home. Even if it's beautiful and you keep it for a little bit, you're like, well, what do I do with it now? So it's really what it communicates to us when we see it either in the shop or online now, like all how someone holds it, what it
Yeah.
communicates to us. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is really the point that I want to bring up. Like when you are designing something that is um, more ingredient conscious or has more intentionality, what do you see in the differences between those brands that you work with, especially with your do good mentality, like
Mm-hmm.
not just do good design, do good. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, that feeds into the companies that you choose to work with as well. And you've
Mm-hmm.
had a polarity of experiences.
100%. Yeah.
And I think that is a good point to hit on,
Yeah.
like
I mean,
talking about that.
sometimes the bigger brands and companies bring me in to, and it's really nice when they do, to educate them on sustainability or printing local or using locally sourced products or services. And when we have that opportunity, it's really refreshing. I think a lot of the time now, legislation is coming in for some of these bigger companies where they have to start looking at how they're recycling or what ingredients, especially within food, they're using or not using, and how they can communicate that on pack. And I think a lot of the time, it's a catch-22 sometimes, because I will get a brief where I know the products aren't great in comparison to, say, Ulis, let's say,
Yeah,
but
the
they
consciousness behind
a
the
hundred
ingredients
percent,
and
yeah, like
how it affects people. And
exactly. So okay, let's look at it in away from skincare for a minute, and let's think about it as food. We all know that our bodies need um, low processed or no processed food, right? So when let's say we need more protein. So if you're trying to educate yourself, you can go into the supermarket and be like, I need products with more protein in, and you get all of these messages on pack, high protein products, whatever it is. So you pick up a high protein product and you put it in your basket, but actually we need to read what is in these products, because we are having messages given to us all the time that, let's say a trail mix bar says high protein on it, but in fact there's so much sugar and there's so much carbs in comparison to, let's say, high protein yogurt. I'm not a nutritionist. What I'm trying to say is the cues and messaging that we get across packaging, we still need to be educating ourselves on why we're picking it up, why are we drawn to it. Let's also read the back of pack. Let's also see who's made this and how it's been made, because it's not, again, it's not always the ingredients. It could be like just how it's mass produced. So what are we trying to do on a conscious level across the board? We can talk about packaging. We can talk about, is it completely recyclable? Is it sustainable? Is it reusable? Like, is it refillable? What is their paper made from? We can look at all of these things, but I think a lot of the time when it comes to the bigger guys getting it right, it's hard. It's hard for them to balance, especially when they've got these great big factories and production lines where things are already put in place and they can't make huge changes. So yeah,
And
it's
that's the thing. They can't make the big changes, but they can make the packaging changes. And that packaging can communicate to you, well, I'm better for you because I have, I don't know, green or brown or
yeah,
whatever it is on the label.
yeah,
And it will convince you to not read the label, those back parts,
yeah,
until you get me home. And then you're like, oh my God,
yeah.
again.
There's
And
this
that's where greenwashing and all this stuff has come in.
100% greenwashing is such a key word in all of this, and I'm so glad you said it, because you can look at a product and think, oh my goodness, that looks
Good for me.
good for me, pharmaceutical or scientific, or even as a cleaning product to you, oh, well, that looks like it's going to do the job. But actually, we need to look at what is in our product and who's making it as well. Like, there's a reason why consciously you might shop in a cooperative or in a Whole Foods or a Planet Organic in comparison to a high street supermarket where there's more option. You still might get them options on shelf, but there is alternative choices.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I know here in the Tesco's or the Sainsbury's, you might not get them choices. You will be given. I think again it comes down to like what society is being told, and if that's through TV advertising versus influencers. Like when we were younger, we didn't have influencers. I was probably using Nivea on my face and washing it with water, right? And now these like 13-year-olds have got like a 10-step cleansing program, and it's all because of TikTok and influencers and brands being pushed like, this is what you need, this is what you need, this product. Oh, you have this problem, so and so uses it and they don't have that problem. The likes, the seeing who's following that brand and being like, oh, okay, so and so follows that brand, so it must be aligned with me. So it's not just the packaging, it's the brand world itself and what's being created for the packaging. It's really interesting. It's really, really interesting because it's terrible. Like, don't get me wrong, like there's
long and short of it.
there's wonderful things happening with I love my job because I get to problem solve, I get to suggest, I get to lean into these areas. But like you said, I have choice, and I'm trying really hard to align with brands and people that want to do better and want to do good and want to learn. It's, I hear people go, oh, I don't buy from Nestle, but then buy all of their clothes from Primark. It's not about like being holier than thou. It's just about making better choices and changing small things where you can, like where you can go, actually we can try this instead of that, and introduce that into your shopping list that's slightly different. But yeah, it's interesting space at the moment. There's so much consumerism, so much competition, especially within skincare right now. It's these fads that I'm seeing all the time of like, well, you need to get glass skin, you need to use these 25 products, or whatever it is. Like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing everything.
And this has come up recently too, in a sense of not just packaging, but talking to younger people that are using Ulis and how it's such a different smell to what they're used to, which is this really synthetic, bubblegummy, scent, the vanillas, which is also, having done perfumery, it's like that's how we start out. We are more drawn to these sweeter scents and all that. And as we age, things change, and it doesn't mean we don't like sweet scents, but how would something that is, if someone came to you and wanted something to target Jen, I don't even know what Jen we're on right now.
I don't even know.
Jen younger than us.
I think, yeah, not us, basically.
What colors would you go for in a product line?
It really would depend. So let's make up a product. Let's say it's a niacinamide product for a 15-year-old girl or 15-year-old audience, let's say. Like, let's say what are they watching, where are they shopping, who are they, what's on their phone, what's in their life. That's an Urban Outfitter space, perhaps. That's a Sephora space as well. Like, as much as Sephora can flex, there is definitely, it's not a Space NK, it's not a Liberty or a Selfridges, or it's very much a high street product. It's going to be targeted through Instagram posts and advertising. So if you think about, when you're saying what kind of colors, I straight away would think about going into a space that's got like a pink gradient, in there, you know, or a peach gradient. Or it could be the complete opposite though. It could be very minimal. It could
Mm.
be very almost going into a fashion space of a designer brand, and it being very aesthetically beautiful,
Mm.
because it's all about how it makes you feel. Like, why do your customers buy Ulis? And one, it's because of how they make it, makes them feel on a level of, this is good for me, this is clean, I'm proud of it. And
Mm.
seeing the same on the other end of it is, I want to pull this out my handbag and feel proud of it as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old person.
Look what I
So
have. Yeah.
yeah, and like, oh, you got that too. It's this way of feeling special. Let's
In the
be real.
club.
Yeah, like it's the same way as when you shop, Steph, and you're in the supermarket and you see a new product and you're drawn to it. Why? Why are
Mm.
you drawn to it? Is it because it's the packaging? It's how it's been placed. It's the environment it's within. You know, unless you're going for something that's very specific, then it's the same as why when we walk into a clothes store we must touch things. Why
Yeah.
why my friend laughed at me the other day. I was like rubbing my hand across a jacket. She's like, you have to touch everything. And I do. Like it's it's tactile, it's feeling, it's emotion. A lot,
Mm.
it's very much
Mm-hmm.
emotive of like what we want in our lives and what we want to display and what we want to hide. You know, if you
Yeah.
think about feminine hygiene products, they're not really on display in our bathroom, but our Aesop soap is, right? So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is it? Why do we consume in the way that we do? And it's to communicate a message of how, what we feel and what our
Mm.
personality is, in the same way as Uli's. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. So if a brand was designing, it came to you to design something that was like, they don't know. They want to do, say, skincare line. I can't help it. I
Hmm.
just keep going that
Hmm.
way.
Yeah, it's
Or
fair.
a makeup brand, right?
Hmm.
And they want to be in with the trend now.
Hmm.
How do you think designing their packaging would impact their longevity in this market that's like forever changing? Like one year it's like this, and the next year it's like this,
Yeah.
and it's this hot product, and then this hot product.
It's really hard because depending on what the product is. So again, let's be a bit more specific. Let's say
Say it's
somebody,
a lipstick.
a lipstick. Yeah, I was going to say, let's say, and the lipstick hasn't got any natural or organic ingredients. It's just a lipstick they've created.
Yeah.
So
Say
then I'm
boot,
the
boots
in boots.
level.
So then I have to ask the questions of, who are you aiming this at? I have to do this whole great big case study of, who are we aiming this at? Who is your archetype? Like, I need to understand, where does this person shop? What are the other products that are in their makeup bag? And
Mm.
then that could look like do you know Refy? The brand Refy, Refy. It's like a really
Oh yeah.
modern, really simple, slick looking makeup brand that can appeal to 16, 17-year olds right through to 40, 50-year olds, all the way through,
Mm.
maybe more, maybe further down. So it could be that. Or it could be, is it a Maybelline? Is it a Rimmel? Is it that kind of approach? And are you competing with them? So if
Mm.
you are sitting on the shelf with boots, what makes you different? So then you probably have to ask yourself, your foundation of your brand your strategy needs to be so strong if you're going to go into that market, so that you don't have to do a rebrand, so that your product
Mm.
doesn't fail. Like, I think it's more of, it's maybe not a lipstick, but maybe it's more a range of makeup, having your strategy solid. That's why Ulis is so good, because the strategy, the story,
Mm.
the background, the foundation is firm. Like, when people ask me about Ulis, I'm like, oh yeah, it's called Ulis because of Stefan Uli. Like, it's that there's a story right there. Like, it's real. Why is it olive oil? Well, she's Greek, and her grandma would use it.
Mm.
There's this real history to it that can have a firm foundation, that can build. But if you just bring out a product because you've created a lipstick that's competing with how many other lipstick in the world right
Yeah.
now, you there's not much you can do with it. There has to be a
Yeah.
hook.
So like the big brands don't do that. They don't come to you with a story, right? They just come to you with, how does
Yes.
it work?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes there's a story. Sometimes it's they
Can
are.
you give us an example of a story that they have? It doesn't, you don't have to name who it is if you don't want,
I
but
can give you a kind of made up
yeah.
example that's based on it. Like, let's say there's a range of skincare products, let's say for female, and they are trying to compete with the craft area, the people that have been making this in their kitchens, right? They will spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on creating strategy for this. They will create a person and be like, well, where does this person shop? Why would they buy this? Like a complete story.
Yeah,
Like,
Avatar.
like a completely, there's nothing real about this, but they know that they need to compete. They know that they need to
And they
change.
need to hit the heart of the
They need to hit the
customer.
heart. So they will change their semiotics, they'll change their cues so that the shopper in Walmart or Target will go, oh my gosh, that's just like what we saw at the farmer's market the other day, for example.
And half
So,
the price.
and half the price, but the ingredients aren't sourced well. Perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps, I'm just going to say, ingredients aren't sourced carefully.
Not speaking from experience.
Like, is the plastic that they're using like recycled plastic? That makes a difference. Like that, now I can say, okay, well, you're trying to change something
Yeah,
here, right?
yeah,
Are your labels biodegradable? You know, is the plastic tube that the pump goes in, is that recyclable? Like, what can
mm,
we do to improve this? And although although it's an issue like consumerism, the fact that these legislations are coming in that they have to change is fantastic. And if I can
yeah,
help educate in that way, then that's brilliant. That's
yeah,
fantastic. But I was writing some stuff down before our call. When I'm thinking about craft products or independent products, some of these get backing, some of these get like investment, which is fantastic, but then there's others that don't. And so where there's investment, you can really look at how you can change, you can make a massive dent in a high street environment through sustainability if you've got the
mm,
backing for. But when you haven't, it's very, very difficult to create a production line that will allow you to create brands and packaging at mass and still keep it sustainable. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
it's very, very hard. Like, we can talk about Lococo a little bit. Which is no longer with us, RIP, Lococo. But when we think about, Lococo is a chocolate, bean to bar chocolate maker from London. They had a very small factory creating incredible product, but to scale it up, to source the products in a sustainable way, you couldn't really scale it up for it to be sustainable. Possibly it could have worked with the right investment, but it's the same thing as if you have small craft brands, getting the right investment and having the story and the strategy and the understanding across the board to invest in doing better
Yeah.
for the future, not just for the moment. It's difficult to do,
Well,
but
it takes a lot more effort. Like you'd have to, in a scenario like that, go with different farms. And then that requires understanding what goes into each
it
farm and how
does.
their people are paid. And like
100%. So then,
that requires its own
yes,
infrastructure.
and that's where investors need to understand that's what's going to cost. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean, it can scale up. Like these things, like we're talking of since Brexit in the UK, thinking about like import export costs. I don't know about what it's like in the States, but getting anything is just costing so much money now.
Yeah.
Like it's doubled and tripled in price. So
Mhm.
it's really understanding where we can invest in the right tools, in the right people as well, to make sure that the product has longevity in a sustainable space.
Love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um, and so knowing all this, how does it affect how you shop when you go to the store?
It's interesting because and how I work. So
Yeah.
like I'll be like, Anna, here's a brief, it's decent money, it's a terrible product, right? And there's hardly any sustainability or anything good at the root of it. how and you have to pick your battles, you know, especially like I'll have tobacco design come to me and I'll be like, I struggle with this, you know,
Yeah.
like on an ethical level, or
Yeah.
whatever that is, whatever area that is. And it, again, it's not a holier than thou or a preachy space. It's more just like I have the ability to do something good with what I do as a day to day. And I really want to try and make sure that the majority of that is doing good. So one, there's work. How does that affect how I work? Then there's how does that affect how I shop? So again, like I'll go into stores and be like, that looks amazing. What's that? Like, oh, let me have a look. Like it's
When
incredible.
Anna was out here in the States, I should say, not here in Texas, but that's to come.
Oh,
She was like the Tony's chocolate, just because it's got such a classic standout
mm,
packaging. It's
mm.
like, so watching Anna shop, she's like, "Oh, look at this! Oh, look at this!"
Just
And all the
taking bits
branding,
constantly. Yeah, and of
new
course,
stuff.
because of how you shop, knowing you, like again, a cooperative environment,
Yeah,
going into a space that is very different to an Aldi or a
oh,
Lidl. I don't know
totally.
what you
Yeah,
guys have
yeah.
got over there, but or a Tesco's even, and being really inspired by that space. I had my camera out the whole time. So, you know, I've moved from London to Coventry and we don't have Whole Foods up here. I was so shocked when I looked at what am I going to do? No, like we talk, it's so it's and like that was huge for me, and I didn't realize it was going to be so big for me. Like it's not about doing all my shopping in Whole Foods or in Planet Organic, but it is having option. Is
Hmm.
having the option to go, okay, well, I'm going to get my detergent from here, then I'm going to run across there and I'm going to get this from there. You know, it's like having option, and not having option has been trickier for me. Um, but yeah, I'm conscious. I try and be as conscious as I can when I'm buying on across everything. You were so good at introducing me to clean skincare that now, like, it's great. I feel like I've completed it. I've done the course in that and I'm good. But now it's like makeup, clean makeup. Like how do we and you've educated me a little bit in this area, but it's finding things that work just as good in clean makeup in that I find within like what I use or what I have used in the past. Same as hair care. So like using really good for you product instead of off the shelf. So I think that I would like to say I'm very conscious of how I buy. Like I can do better. We can all do better.
Do you
But
feel the difference when if you're drawn to something for packaging that you're like, oh, I got to check that?
yeah, I got to check. And the thing is, though, because I work across so many things, let's say alcohol. Let's take alcohol for example. There's this beautiful theatre of premium luxury alcohol, of like the unboxing, the unwrapping, the labels,
Hmm.
the booklet, and like working with Equiano and the likes of them. I love that space. And again, the great thing about the likes of Equiano are they're very aware of like how is this recyclable? We don't want too much plastic, you know. So I love that we have that. But there's something really beautiful in being inspired by the theatre of packaging, but then being aware of waste. So how
Hmm.
do we make sure we can still enjoy packaging and enjoy that unboxing, that gifting, that moment? It's my cat, sorry.
I
Um,
do.
that moment, as well as making sure that it can be recycled or reused in some way. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like that because that's come up for me as well with
Mm,
Ulis. It's a very fine line between, okay, well, we don't have outer packaging, we don't have this grandeur in opening, and it's affordable luxury. How else can we communicate that?
yeah.
And even down to like our gua sha cards or something like that, these little things that I'm like, well, I don't want an extra piece of paper, but I know this is helpful. So I have to
Mm,
kind of weigh up. It's like you were saying, like, you got to take the good with the evil and figure out, like, is educating the person more important, which it is to me as well, because we are making so many other efforts in
Mhm.
minimizing waste
Mhm.
and giving that feeling. And I do think like, um, our packaging is lovely, and I do also think that it kind of falls to the wayside in a good way. Like it's
Mhm.
not something that, because then you keep using it, then it's always there, and it's a staple that you don't even notice as something you want to change.
Yeah.
But when packaging falls into the trendy category, then you're like, well, I'm over this now, I'm going to try a different brand.
Yeah.
And I see that with me with hair care, because
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm over the smell, I'm over the scent.
Mm.
I want to try a different one. And they're all, I check all the ingredients, me and everything. And I can't help but find that cycle with hair care happening all the time. Makeup is different because people send me products to test and
Mm.
to promote and stuff. So, and I recommend the ones that I think work well. And I
Yeah.
find that I'm less attracted to the packaging in makeup so much. So it is interesting how it does change around in different sectors.
Yes.
And I don't trust any cleaning products, honestly. So
Exactly. But this is it. It's like it's making conscious choices and knowing you like in terms
knowing
of
yourself.
knowing yourself, because cleaning products, you're probably making it out of baking soda and lemon or something, knowing you. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's really just making better decisions. But when it comes to the Uli's packaging, which I just happen to have.
Oh yeah, I grabbed two as well because I was like, I don't know, in case people haven't seen it before. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like with the
Right.
packaging, what's when I think about when I try and be a consumer, when I'm designing packaging, when I travel, and I'm sure you're the same, I'm like, I just need someone to put my pills in, or my vitamins, or my, I don't know, foundation. I want to take my big bottle. And these are fantastic. My
Yeah.
jewelry, like whatever
Yeah.
it is, like you can. So I know that in a similar way to other brands or other products, like if I think about food brands, Goo, do you remember Goo from the UK?
Yeah.
You had them little
Yep. Yep.
ramekins,
Love them. We
right?
have a
No,
ton of similar ones in
similar.
our.
Like I'm not throwing them away. Same as these. I'm not throwing them away because they're handy. Like they're like it doesn't matter if the product is finished and I can't refill this. It's handy for me to travel with. It's handy for me to reuse in some way.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that if we can look at packaging in the same way across the board of how can we design packaging that is reusable or can be used again in some way. So if that's even if it's in the form of, I don't know, just the top of my head, you cut this and it becomes like a vase
Yeah.
or a pen holder,
Yeah.
whatever that is. It's like if more brands can think in a way of how can we use this. So for Ulis, for example, let's say you want to do a gift box, like a small gift box, but you're like, I don't really want to create more waste. How can the gift box then become something? How can that become a jewelry
Mm.
box? How can that be,
Mm-hmm.
something
Totally.
that doesn't get thrown away, but can
Mm-hmm.
be reused or gifted or refilled? So yeah, I
Love it.
think it's interesting. My friend, she recently bought a necklace, an amethyst necklace, and it came in. She was telling me it came in this like beautiful like packaging, but the packaging was paper with seeds in, for example. So now
Yeah.
she's like, well,
Yeah.
I don't feel so bad. I can just plant this and it's going to go into the
Yeah. I
earth.
love
And
those.
do you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
it's nothing new, but it's been considered, it's been thought about. That person
Mm.
doesn't want to create more waste. So how
Totally.
can we do that? I think that's really interesting. Like, we all live in glass houses. Nobody's perfect. But I think there's ways we can do things that can just be better. And you're
Mm.
right. The phrase on my website and across everything is don't just do good design, do good. And if we can just try and do that, I
I
think
love it.
it can make a difference for sure.
Totally. So how do people find you? Can you just share?
Oh, how do people find me? I have a website and my name is Ana Pryor, and that's anapryor.co.uk. And you can find me on socials, which is Ana Pryor _ studio, and you can find me there. Or just ask Steph. She can put you in my
The
direction.
Oracle.
It's Oracle. more. But I mean, there's so much I could talk about in this area, you know,
I know.
I can never say it, specific areas I could talk about. But this here, it's understanding we can using Ulis is a great example of a product that is really good for you. It's been considered, and then on top of that, you've gone, let's make sure the packaging works too. And I think more brands could learn from that. So
I love that. And so many people are like, I love the stopper, like the one piece of plastic that we have that's been so considered
yeah,
that it's actually really hard to do and get
yeah,
because those things are made for glass
yes.
and plastic. And no one thinks about this. But
Mm-hmm.
because we have aluminum, it's been a really long process everywhere we've had to get our bottles made. That means those they have to be shrunk to be able to fit those.
Yeah,
So definitely a lot of consideration. And in my perspective, it's the little brands and the small businesses that really put that effort in because it's not easy to start a brand. And if they have started a brand, it's for a reason. And they
yes,
feel so passionately about what they're doing and what they've created and how it's going to help that they pursue it no matter what the challenge is to come. And I
definitely.
speak that truth every day,
You
all
do.
damn day.
You do. You're like, what did I start? What did I create here? And you've created
Totally.
something really wonderful. That's what
Thank you.
and you are the person, the company that's doing all the hard work and doing all the trial and error so that people can learn from it. And
And
that's
I still get comments.
mm,
We still get comments on social media when we had the EWG post, and they're like,
mm,
yeah, but on sustainability, what are the brands actually doing about this stuff?
mm,
And can
mm.
people send it back to get it
Yeah,
refilled? And that led into a whole thing where I was like, look, I want to do that.
yeah.
But can we talk about the polarity of the other side where it's like
Mm,
the water waste of me having us have the facility able to clean out all of the packaging
yeah.
and sanitize it so that it can
Mm,
be reused and
yeah.
the emissions of shipping it. So it's
100%.
you've got to take every little piece
100%.
into
And I think this is the thing, your brand as well as others, like the refillable thing, in terms of like you
another
said, the shipping, like and all of the complications that come with that and the cost and the environment. There are other ways, like having the choice of and I say aluminium, you say aluminum, but an aluminium bottle being shipped. And then, you know, I see companies that are like, actually, we're going to send you a biodegradable or a recyclable, refillable pouch where you can get these things, you know. So I think there's just more conversation
yeah,
around it. It doesn't have to be, wow, I want to get my bottle refilled. We're not in every store to
yeah,
be able to do that. So let's look at ways we can support it.
yeah,
But for now, like you can only tick as many boxes as you can, right?
totally.
So yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you, Anna.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
coming on
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
and talking all this with me. And I can't wait to get this out.
I know. I can't wait to listen back to my rambles on packaging and see how it went. But no, it's been really wonderful talking through. And anytime you want to talk about anything else packaging design related, I'm here. But
Thank you.
yeah,
And
amazing,
all of your details will be in the show notes too.
amazing. Thank you, my love.
Thank you. Bye.
Join us each month as WTF Am I Doing with My Face brings raw, unfiltered conversations to the forefront of skin health, sustainability, and the often overlooked realities of working in the fashion and beauty industries. This is more than a podcast, it's a space for clean beauty, beauty practitioners, entrepreneurs, skin health advocates, and anyone seeking to honor their natural beauty and age gracefully while navigating the chaos of modern life. Together, we learn how to love the skin we're in, age gracefully, empower ourselves to make conscious choices for our well being and the planet.
Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please help us grow by sharing us with anyone you think our approach on beauty resonates with.